This is the story of a villainous woman who marries into a frontier noble family and surprises everyone with her remarkable skills and capabilities. In a world shaped by the structure of an otome game, she and her husband struggle against a preordained narrative. The story begins with Ragnar Brave, the third son of a noble family, now burdened with the responsibilities of managing a harsh and unforgiving frontier territory known as the Land of Bravery. He sits at his desk, surrounded by an endless pile of paperwork, seething with frustration. Despite living in a world filled with swords and magic, he cannot escape the mundane duties of administration. His irritation grows as he wonders why he must occupy his time with such inefficient tasks. Just then, his loyal servant, Sebas, enters the room to inform him of the dire state of their household staff. Most of the people in the mansion have been killed in a recent battle. Hearing this, he masks his frustration with an air of sarcastic composure. He remarks that Sebas has arrived at a convenient time and promptly enlists his help. However, Sebas reminds him that, as his master, it is his duty to take charge of these matters. Despite his resentment, he grudgingly accepts this reality and begins explaining the challenges of their territory. The Land of Bravery, he explains, is a region teeming with natural resources and monster materials, attracting adventurers and merchants. However, its development is fraught with difficulties. Attempts to cultivate the mountainous terrain are thwarted by rampaging monsters, while neighboring nations often attack, burning down fields and infrastructure. The territory's harsh conditions and frequent conflicts have earned it the reputation of being the land to be abandoned. It is a place where survival is a constant struggle. Sebas listens intently, surprised to learn that there is no one in the family with administrative expertise. He elaborates, explaining that his father and elder brothers were all warriors dedicated to protecting the land through strength of arms. As the third son, he had been groomed to live freely as an adventurer, honing his skills to combat monsters and enemies. However, a devastating war claimed the lives of his entire family, leaving him as the sole heir to the Brave family's title and responsibilities. He speaks with a mixture of anger and regret, lamenting that his dream of freedom has been replaced by the burdens of leadership. He remarks bitterly that he would rather venture into dangerous dungeons than sit behind a desk. Sebas, however, encourages him, emphasizing that he has a duty to fulfill and that abandoning the territory is not an option. He concedes to Sebas' logic, but remains deeply troubled. He explains that the territory's survival depends on the support of other nobles, as it cannot sustain itself under the current conditions. To secure that support, he must attend the royal capital's academy to forge alliances and negotiate aid. However, he doubts his ability to navigate the intricate social dynamics of noble society. As he contemplates his predicament, Sebas informs him of a marriage proposal from a family of earls. He, startled, questions the timing of such a proposal, noting that while arranged marriages are common among nobles, this offer seems abrupt. He reflects on how his brother's fiancés refused to settle in the Land of Bravery, avoiding even their funeral responsibilities after the war. Though initially inclined to reject the proposal outright, he hesitates when Sebas reveals the significance of the prospective bride's family. The family supplies the territory with essential resources, including weapons and food, making the alliance critical for their survival. With this revelation, he realizes the gravity of the situation and reluctantly agrees to consider the proposal. Later, he retreats to his room, overwhelmed by the weight of his responsibilities. As he lies on his bed, his thoughts drift to his past life. He recalls fragments of memories, including an incident where he was struck by an orc, and wonders why he had forgotten about it until now. A strange sensation of familiarity envelops him as he begins to piece together the truth. Reaching for his phone, he discovers a game bearing his name. Upon opening it, he realizes that he is living in the world of an otome game from his previous life. The protagonist of the game is a commoner who attends an academy for nobles, where she encounters various potential love interests. As he examines the game's storyline, he grows increasingly anxious. The game is riddled with conflicts, culminating in the royal capital becoming a battlefield engulfed in flames. He is struck by the grim portrayal of the future and the disastrous consequences for his territory. Among the characters, one figure stands out, Alika Oldwood, a noblewoman trained to become a queen and the prince's fiancée. With her flawless beauty and exceptional talents, she outshines all others, but her personality is depicted as cruel and elitist. Her role in the game is to serve as an obstacle for the protagonist. She constantly strengthens her bond with the prince, engaging in acts of harassment that only escalate with time. Eventually, this rivalry culminates in a duel fought for the prince's honor, with her suffering a humiliating defeat. The aftermath of her failure is swift. She is immediately stripped of her engagement to the prince. His thoughts turn to her future as he recalls the events of the game. According to the storyline, after this incident, she takes responsibility for her actions and is sent to marry a frontier noble, a fate that seems harsh yet fitting given her role in the game. As he contemplates this, he realizes with a sinking feeling that the woman approaching his home is none other than herself. She approaches, unaware of his thoughts, and wonders if the house belongs to her family. He, lying on his bed, dreads the thought of sharing his life with a woman of such a volatile nature. He imagines that her arrival will lead to daily verbal abuse, and the prospect of attending the academy with her fills him with despair. Just as his anxiety grows, his loyal servant informs him that she has arrived. He is startled by the news, and after quickly dressing, inquires with genuine concern why a woman raised solely for the crown prince's benefit would come to his house. Siba suggests that she might be fleeing trouble, seeking refuge, and sets an example by coming to a place with a high mortality rate like Brave territory. This revelation shocks him, further intensifying his unease. He stands before her door, his mind racing. When she finally emerges, he is taken aback by the sight of her. He started noticing a large burn scar around her eye. Sebas greets her, introducing himself, and she responds with a melancholy tone, acknowledging his reaction to her appearance. She explains, with a quiet sorrow, that the burn was the result of the duel she lost. He, feeling a mix of embarrassment and concern, tries to address the situation tactfully, suggesting that the burn could be a common occurrence in such a dangerous region, as soldiers and adventurers often bear scars. He looks at her face, feeling a deep sympathy for the way her beauty has been marred. However, he quickly catches himself, thinking that her scar now seems fitting for someone who may face a life of shame. Their interaction continues as he notices something unusual on his hand. When he opens his palm, he finds a demon bug clinging to it. She explains that these creatures are born from curses and represent the hatred and grudges of those around her. She reveals that the sheer number of demon bugs afflicting her is a reflection of the intense animosity she faces. He is struck by the significance of this revelation, realizing that she has been deeply hated by those around her. As she shares this with him, he becomes aware of her calm demeanor, despite the overwhelming curse she carries. His thoughts begin to shift, and he wonders if perhaps her actions, including her challenges to the protagonist in the game, are not entirely her own. This world, he reflects, is a place built for drama, where antagonism is necessary for the narrative to unfold. The more he considers it, the more he begins to question whether her behavior is a product of the game's manipulations, distorted to fit a twisted storyline. He begins to see that both of they are pawns in a world dictated by fate, with neither of them in control of their own destinies. He realizes that he knows her future, how, in the game, she eventually makes a pact with a demon and becomes a monster, wreaking havoc and ultimately causing the destruction of Brave territory. He is deeply troubled by this knowledge, knowing that every possible path leads to the ruin of his territory. It becomes clear to him that his fate is intertwined with hers, and if he does nothing, the destruction of his homeland is inevitable. His concern grows as he contemplates his next move. He is caught between the desire to resist the narrative and the fear that no matter what he does, the world around him is destined for ruin. However, a new determination rises within him. Despite the grim future that seems inevitable, he resolves to help her start anew. He wishes to offer her a chance to rebuild her life and avoid the fate that awaits her in the game's story. Together, they stand at a crossroads, uncertain of the future, but his resolve strengthens. He may not be able to change the world, but he will do everything in his power to protect her in his territory. As they continue their walk through the house, he is startled when he accidentally steps on a demon bug, killing it. He reflects on his words to her, expressing his desire to resist this world, but she doesn't understand his meaning. She asks him to clarify, and he smiles, assuring her that it's nothing important, just his determination to try his best. She, clearly disappointed, confides that it has been a long time since anyone had smiled so freely at her. She begins to walk ahead, and he follows behind, silently contemplating the path they are about to walk together. Unbeknownst to both of them, a strange person enters her heart at that very moment. 5 days pass with her staying at the Brave household. During this time, she neither lashes out at anyone nor speaks harshly. She simply eats the food brought to her room. Beyond that, she does not step outside her quarters. Her behavior remains distant and reserved. Meanwhile, he becomes deeply occupied with exterminating the demon bugs. feeling increasingly frustrated as he considers how these demon bugs could be sent flying to distant targets using magic. Witnessing his trouble, Sebas approaches and remarks that he seems to be going through a very difficult time. In response, he angrily tells him that he can see the bugs too, and that they are present in an overwhelming number, asking Sebas for help. He wonders if he should trace the source of their arrival and eliminate it. However, Sebas cautions him that doing so would result in the destruction of the house. At that moment, he realizes that more pressing than the demon bugs is the girl's heart, which seems to be attracting them. He feels helpless, reflecting that the brave family is only skilled in combat, and she is the first girl of his age that he has ever encountered. Seeing him so troubled, Sebas reassures him, saying that everything will be fine and that he has a very good idea. He knocks on her door with great affection, saying good morning and inviting her for breakfast. He calls out to her from outside the door, mentioning that they will have breakfast together. He explains that, just like the social event at the academy called a tea party, they will try to imitate it. He suggests that they should strengthen their connection, similar to the tea party at the academy. He speaks gently, asking her to wake up and join them for breakfast, which everyone enjoys. She suddenly opens the door and tells him that she has already woken up, inviting him in. She mentions that she left the door open just for breakfast. As she steps out, he breathes a sigh of relief, feeling relaxed, as he was worried she might have overdone it. Both of them head out to have breakfast together. While eating, she remarks that he knocked very hard, wondering what would have happened if the door had broken. He smiles and reassures her that there is no need to worry about that, as he is skilled in repairs. He adds that, after all, a noble person should be able to handle repairs. He reminds her that, most importantly, the focus should be on enjoying the breakfast and the coffee. She goes blank upon hearing this and begins drinking her coffee. As she drinks, she suddenly starts coughing. He is startled and asks if something is wrong. She replies that it is very bitter because it is the first time she has ever had coffee. She explains with great embarrassment that in her world, things like coffee are very expensive and they cannot afford them, which is why she is not accustomed to drinking it. Immediately, he gets up from his chair and apologizes for not being able to prepare tea for her. He reassures her that there is no need to worry. Then he tries to improve her coffee by adding sugar. He sweetens it, and she says that now she can drink it. Smiling, he tells her to be careful and not to drink it before bed, or she might have trouble sleeping. Both of them then sit down and continue their breakfast peacefully. While eating, she asks him what he is having. He replies that it is monster meat and explains that the boys in the Brave family are usually raised on monster meat. She is shocked and asks if it is poisonous. He smiles and explains that if someone starts eating it from a young age, they get used to it, although the taste is nothing special. However, it becomes an invaluable food source during times of war. She asks, in surprise, why he tries to do everything by himself. He lowers his head and explains that, simply put, they are very short-handed, and that's the reason. He adds that if needed, even the servants will fight, but most of them have recently died in battle. She understands his words. He gets up from his chair and, with a serious tone, tells her that in the Brave family, a defeat without death is never considered a loss. What they value the most are those who survive tenaciously and stand back up. As he walks over to her, he gently places his hand on her face and tells her that she is truly a remarkable person. He encourages her, saying that in their family, they do not hide their scars. Instead, they take pride in them. He then shows her the scar on his forehead and says that he too has scars on his face. He gets very close and explains that it is a habit of his when he inspects the soldiers' wounds. Today, he invited her to go out, and he tells her that although the situation in the territory is quite disorganized, its natural beauty and resources are abundant. He invites her to take a walk with him. She looks at him in surprise as he tells her that, in the face of nature, human conflicts seem insignificant. Here in this land, those conflicts appear almost trivial. After thinking for a while, she tells him that she would like to go with him. With confidence, she tells him that he can show her around the land. She would be happy to accompany him. They set off, and as she looks at the depth of the mountains, she reflects to herself that although she agreed to come here, she had no idea how deep these mountains truly were. He looks toward the Udana Mountains and begins explaining its history, describing it as a vast mountain range located near the Brave territory. The area is known for its rare plants and minerals, which are not found in the royal capital. She listens attentively and expresses that she had expected to visit a town or see some local specialty goods, but what he describes seems to be something entirely different. He smiles and informs her that there are no such things in this area, and she must have noticed that on the way. This is not a tourist town, but rather a rough settlement where only those who hunt monsters reside. He observes her and thinks to himself that despite being in a completely new land, she is attempting to adapt to it. Upon arriving at a beautiful spot, he suggests taking a short break, pointing out that it will be quite enjoyable. She drinks water from the river with her hand and remarks that it is very delicious. He explains that the Udana mountain range is situated at a high altitude, resulting in very low evaporation. This means that the water here is pristine and pure, free from worries. He calls her name and emphasizes that the clarity of the water is something she will never find in the royal capital. He goes on to explain that although this land is fundamentally harsh and difficult to accept, learning more about it can make it more bearable and easier to endure. He tells her that enemies and allies coexist on the same land, and she should never make the mistake of underestimating them. He urges her to deeply understand these truths and prepare herself accordingly if she wishes to survive. She begins to fully comprehend the gravity of his words. He lowers his head, acknowledging that this is the teaching of the Bray family, and then shares a proverb from a distant world. He explains that in this land, people make all decisions based on their own understanding and fight for those decisions. She then expresses that the expression she has seen on the faces of the people here are not what she had imagined from the rumors. He mockingly responds that this decision was made after much contemplation, explaining that the people of the Bray territory never laugh. However, he assures her that laughing at this moment is perfectly acceptable. He further explains that this place is one where people gamble with their lives and deaths for entertainment. After all of this, he tells her it is time to move on and continue their journey. As they climb the mountain, he encourages her to laugh. She is surprised by his request, pointing out that only a moment ago he had told her not to laugh, and now he is telling her to do so. She tells him that he is quite a strange person. Offering her support as they climb together, he reaches out his hand. During their climb, a strange and bright light suddenly appears, astonishing her and causing her mouth to fall open in surprise. He explains that this is his favorite place. While it might seem like an ordinary view to her, it holds special significance for him. He then mentions that after such a long walk, she must be feeling hungry and suggests having a light snack. She then asks if she can ask him something, and he tells her she can call him without using honorifics as he is not accustomed to being addressed formally. He asks her not to use formal language with him. She is taken aback and explains that such things are considered small matters here. He agrees with her, acknowledging her point. She then falls into deep thought, and with a serious tone and a sad demeanor, expresses that if she chooses one side, she loses the other, and nothing can be done about the things she has already lost. She further explains that if this happens, nothing will remain. She exclaims loudly that, as a duchess, she has already died, which is why she came to this desolate land. After sharing these words, she apologizes for the inappropriate remark. She confesses that she is utterly fed up with the demonic bugs. In a deeply troubled state, he asks if severing these feelings would truly be impossible. He recalls his servant's words, reflecting on the advice he had received. Sebas had told him that he was quite clumsy and suggested he face things honestly, just as he was, assuring him that everything would eventually be fine. With renewed resolve, he calls her name and tells her that from now on he will always protect her. Upon hearing this, her eyes widen in surprise, and she is left stunned. He continues, telling her that she will no longer belong to the duchy. She will now belong to the Bray family as Alicia. At that moment, he makes a solemn vow to her, saying that he will protect her under any circumstances, always, no matter what. She smiles and comments that he doesn't seem accustomed to making such a vow. He becomes embarrassed and admits that he had actually practiced saying that line beforehand. Surprised, she remarks that it is hilarious and asks who practices such things. He had originally thought he would propose to her in a noble manner, sitting on the ground like the aristocrats of the royal capital, but all his efforts go in vain. Seeing his disheartened expression, she reassures him that she doesn't find his manner of speaking bad at all. In fact, it was straightforward and easy to understand. She then says with certainty that perhaps, just as he had told her, she had overthought things. She reaches out her hand towards him to seal their promise. He tells her that if she returns to the academy with him, she may face a lot of malice and hostility. She wonders aloud if, even in such a situation, he would still protect her. He smiles confidently, assuring her that he is skilled at dealing with such situations, and that she can leave all of that to him. Then he calls out loudly to Onyx, a dragon who is his friend, and asks her if she has seen it before. However, she doesn't understand and asks what he means. Suddenly, A massive dinosaur emerges from above the mountain and tells him that it has heard his voice. He explains that this is Onyx, a black dragon, and that it is his friend. He mentions that he had considered making it some kind of witness. Upon seeing such a large creature, she faints in shock. Tears welled up in her soft and gentle eyes from the overwhelming surprise. He calls her name and gently tells her that she is so weak that she fainted upon seeing it. In this way, their first meeting concludes with many challenges, followed by a bang as she watches the arcane final.